Welcome. I'm Evelyn Rudy.
And I'm Paul Shackman.
And this is Santa Monica On Stage, where we talk about the people and venues that make the city of Santa Monica the cultural destination for the performing arts.
Today we're starting with an exciting new company, Contratiempo, and we'll learn more about how they are making a difference with dance.
Then we'll meet the artistic director of Virginia Avenue Project Arts Center for Youth to talk about how they're getting kids involved in the arts.
That's today on Santa Monica On Stage.
Contratiempo is rooted in salsa and Afro-Cuban styles with a dedication to voices that are not typically seen on stage. Today we're joined by two company members, Toledo and Samad Rahim Guerra. Welcome, Toledo and Samad.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
I really like the very subtle t-shirts.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You can thank our boss for that.
They make the statement.
Yes, we think the message gets across pretty clearly.
Very cool. So tell us, if you would, both of you perhaps, a little bit about Contratiempo and how the two of you got involved.
Absolutely. So Contratiempo is an urban Latin dance theater company that, like you said, is all about bringing the voices that are not traditionally heard on the concert stage and bringing them to light. So we take forms like salsa, like hip hop, like Afro-Cuban that are normally considered more social forms, and we fuse them with more modern contemporary type forms in order to present them on stage and present issues that are currently relevant. So we speak on race and social justice issues around food and now water through our new work that we're creating called Agua Furiosa. And so we have a very strong message and we present it on the stage for people to see and hear.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you get involved?
I got involved in 2011. I was transferring to UCLA, and a good friend of mine in the Bay Area who I used to dance with, Nicole Claymoon, introduced me to Ana, and she said, "Oh, this would be a great fit for you. You have a lot of training in Afro-Cuban, you know salsa." And so I emailed her, and after that, I auditioned and eventually joined the company. And so now I'm a full-time member.
How long have you been a full-time member?
Since 2011.
And you as well?
No, I actually started, I auditioned for the company back in, if I'm not mistaken, it was like 2009. It's a while back. And came in as a apprentice and a student for the Futuro Summer Dance Intensive that we do every year. And I was a part of the original intensive. And what that is it's a program that the company hosts where students are dancing in all of the different styles that we perform on stage. They're dancing in their true raw forms for hours a day and just getting soaking in all of this knowledge in the actual dance forms, but also teaching about art as social justice and what it means to actually stand up in your art for something that you believe in so strongly. And so I started in that program as a student, became an apprentice. Later on, about 2 years into my apprenticeship, was asked to become a company member. Have been doing that for a while, and now I am the administrative assistant for the program that I actually came out of. So it's a fantastic kind of loop around. It sort of goes full
That's
circle.
awesome. You mentioned Agua Furioso?
Yeah,
Furiosa.
Agua Furiosa.
And that was with the Annenberg Beach House. How did that come about? And I think we have a little video that we want to see too.
Yeah, fantastic. So we actually, as a company, Ana Maria Alvarez, who is our artistic director and co-founder, applied for a grant for a residency through the Annenberg Beach House. And we were granted that, which was amazing. And she got to spend 2 full weeks creating work with a few of the dancers at a time, sort of coming up with ideas. And through that, one of the days we dedicated to a choreographic lab, which is something that actually the company since then has been trying to do once a month, and we're going to continue to do that. But we had a chance to engage with the community and really bring in all of the folks from Santa Monica and allow them to experience what it's like to have their voices heard, to sit around in a circle and do counsel and talk about their own personal stories in relationship to water, in relationship to race, and using those ideas through movement. And what does that look like? To take bodies from all walks of life and have them try that on, like try that hat on for a while. So the first one we ever did was in Santa Monica, which was amazing, as you will see in the video.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Let's see it.
Yeah.
Let's see the video.
This is a very vulnerable place to be in as an artist, of starting to try to make your ideas into something that makes sense for people outside of your head. But also I'm clear on how powerful and important this process is. And Agua Furiosa is the name of the piece. What we're doing is we're taking on, in broad strokes, the idea of The Tempest, which is Shakespeare's piece about injustice.
Anna said to me, I'm creating this new piece that has to do with race and using the context of The Tempest with Caliban. In the process, we all sat down and we sat in a circle. And we started to talk about our experiences with race and what we grew up with and what people said to us and how we kind of navigated through life.
What I'm going to do in each time we have a choreographic laboratory, where I'm going to actually, the questions that I'm going to pose are going to be, or the talking points that we'll pose are going to be talking points that we as as company members and as artists in the process have answered.
Where did you get your ideas? Your ideas? This is dreamy.
You know, it's like we all had our different experiences that we were able to bring into this piece with our own identities with race. And it was complicated and beautiful and emotional, and it's been a roller coaster ride. And this piece, I feel like, is a vehicle and a voice, if you will, for all of these stories and experiences of people to come together and be able to be told through incredible music by Sabela, Ana Maria's brilliant vision, and the dancers just being a vessel for people's voices, our own voices and experiences, but other people's as well.
You want to come in? Move, walk, touch the water, touch your neighbor, touch yourself. Connect to what's happening all the way. Make sure that you actually can make your way through the fountain, so don't just stay in one place.
Maybe we just need to have these conversations so we can create something new. Maybe all of this that's so hurtful and exhausting and horrifying can turn into something really great. And maybe this is just what we have to go through. And I think this dance piece is a voice to help get that conversation started.
Wow, that is really cool. That's great work, guys. Samad, I wanted to ask you something, because we were talking earlier and you had mentioned that you had spent a little bit of time in Africa recently.
Yes.
What did you take from that you were able to bring back to the company?
Oh, movement, first and foremost. One of the amazing things about being in Africa is that I was able to see some of the places where movement and aesthetic comes from in Afro-Cuban dance. We know that Cuba has a large population of people who descend from different ethnic groups in Africa. So in my travels there, I was able to connect with different communities who dance, who sing, who really preserve their traditions, on a daily basis. And so it was really inspiring to learn and also share what I do here. It was a really fun exchange where I took a class in West African dance. I did a dance called Soko, and afterwards the instructor asked me if I knew hip hop. And so I shared a little bit of house dancing that I do, and it was just the funnest thing.
Where was this?
It was in a small community on the outskirts of Dakar, which is the capital of Senegal. And so it was just an awesome exchange. You know, we were totally vibing with each other and, you know, relating.
Right on.
That's
Yeah,
very
through movement.
cool.
Yeah.
So, Full Still Hungry.
Yeah.
I know
Yes.
that feeling. What is that project all about?
Yeah, so Full Still Hungry is a 2-hour evening length work that we have been touring not only around the United States but also in South America. So we were asked to tour all around the United States and through South America with this project of where we had talked about food justice, right? And this idea of food and how does it relate to us as human beings, and where does food come from? How is it produced? Like, where do we get our meat? Where do we get our fruits and veggies? How does that relate back to our past, to our present, to our future? And
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think we're actually going to get a little taste
little
of
Yes.
Full Still Hungry. Thank you again, Samad and Toledo, for
Thank
joining us
you.
today.
Thank you.
Absolutely,
Yeah, it's our
thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll see Contratiempo in action.
Discover 30 years of opera in Santa Monica. Discover the Verdi Chorus.
There's a story as old as dirt, as old as beans, as old as bay leaves, as old as sábanas blancas, old as bananas, old as the maple, moros y cristianos.
As old as driftwood, old as water. As old as a hand hitting skin stretched across a hollow gourd.
It's about tables and seeds. It's about people and what they eat.
It's a mixed up story.
It's a mess. Una mezcla.
It's a story which tells itself when cooked. Its words
Its words
are
are
smells,
smells, and its pages are bowls of black beans and rice. There's a ring to it. A meaning through it.
You can sing to it.
It's a story that keeps telling itself over and over. It comes out of wise mouths and spoons itself back into small ears.
This story is a cycle. It's a ritual. It's habitual.
It is manual and granular.
This story is just a lot of tiny pieces.
This story has no fear.
This story has no fear.
It is only atmosphere. It has no doubt about who we are, what we are made of, or what we are in the middle of. Or what we're in the middle of. There are chapters,
on all of that.
On what we eat, on what you can eat, on what you'd rather not eat, on what you
Meat,
know you should and
water,
shouldn't eat.
seeds,
wheat,
fish,
fish,
leaves,
Wheat, fish,
fruit,
seeds,
water,
seeds,
Twinkies.
Twinkies.
This story,
This story is pure nourishment.
No supplement.
This story is full, but still hungry.
In a time when youth arts programs are constantly downsizing, our friends at Virginia Avenue Project have been growing with their exceptional long-term mentorship. Here to tell us more is Artistic Director Lori Latham. Hi, Lori.
Hello.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure.
So you were a teaching artist for a long time, and then you became the Artistic Director.
That's right. Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what you're doing there now.
Well, I've been Artistic Director for 2.5 years or so. I took over from the founder, Lee Curran, who started the organization in 1992. And she based it off of the 52nd Street Project in New York, which does a variety of arts programming for underserved kids there. And she brought it to LA and started it from the ground up, and was the artistic director for 22 years, and then passed the baton to me, which is I consider a great honor. So since I've been running the show, we've been expanding in all kinds of ways. We have collaborations in the Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District. We're working a number of school sites there. We have opened up a youth center on 18th Street, at the 18th Street Art Center in Santa Monica, and that's just a wonderful, beautiful space for kids to come after school and hang out and do their homework and have a safe space to be and
That's
interact
fairly
with
recent, right?
Yes, that just happened in September, and we actually just became fully operational there in January.
Oh, fantastic.
So we used to run all of our programs at the Police Activities League, which had very, very limited space for us, as as would normal. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
And so now we don't have to beg for space anymore. We have our own space, and we have a lot of space, and we have a beautiful lounge for children. And so now it's really a place where we can just not only expand our programs, reach many, many more kids who need us, but also kids can just come and have a safe space to interact with their mentors, to do their homework, get homework help, and just hang out after school. So it's a very inviting, very creative environment for kids who are into that.
The whole idea of mentorship to me is just not only fascinating, but I think it's vital. I think it is absolutely vital in all areas for people to not only pass on their knowledge, but to continue the exchange. Can you tell us a little bit about the mentorship program?
Yeah, I'm happy to. The mentorship aspect of the Virginia Avenue Project is really the cornerstone of what we do. I mean, many, many organizations do wonderful work where they send in teaching artists to various schools or what have you. They work with kids, but they don't, it's not the one-on-one kind of interaction, and that's what almost every single program that we offer is a one-on-one mentorship is really the heart of it. And so kids come to us as young as age 6. They stay with us until they graduate high school, and so we get to know them very, very well. They're not required to do all of our programs, but many of them come back year after year. And they work with, this core of wonderful artists that we work with. And I keep getting calls. I mean, a big part of my job is answering the phone and getting volunteers. They want to work with us. They hear about us through their friends, other artists that they work with. And so we just have this constant flow of artists, adult actors and playwrights and directors and dancers and what have you. And they want to work with our kids. And so really the favorite part of my job is to pair a young person with an with an adult artist, because I like to sort of go, okay, how am I going to blow this kid's mind? Which artist can I put this kid with who's going to really open up their horizons, just from an artistic standpoint, but also just on a worldview level. And so that's really what we do. And so kids get all of this one-on-one attention. One of our programs is called Smart Partners, and it pairs an adult artist or tutor with a child for the duration of the school year. And so every Thursday they meet at our youth center and they work on homework, they work on creative writing. Sometimes they just play games together, they hang out. And many times these partnerships roll over year after year, and so you'll have a mentor-student pairing that lasts for 6, 7, 8 years sometimes.
Wow.
So that's just, that's the kind of thing. When kids are in classrooms that have 38 students and one teacher, and the adults in their lives are, generally speaking, very overwhelmed and don't have the kind of time to give kids the attention they need, this is really a place where kids can really get that kind of attention. It's life-changing.
Have you seen some kids that have gone through this program that have now become young artists that have now come back and said, I want to mentor, I want to do the same thing? Yeah,
it's interesting. They do come back. It's not so much that kids become artists. We have one graduate who worked in the Obama White House. Wow. We have social workers, we have teachers, we have all kinds of people in the nonprofit sector who came through our program. So we have a lot of kids come back as graduates and say, I want to give back the way that I, was given to as a kid. So that's kind of golden to me. Some of our kids do go into the artistic professions, but actually, generally speaking, they go into these other areas. But they do come back and work with us. Sometimes we have a couple of grads now who are mentoring our young kids in acting class, and they're not actors, but they know very well what to do in our classes and how to be wacky and weird and show kids that it's okay to be wacky and weird, and actually it leads to wonderful things to be wacky and weird, and so they do do come back, and we often get kids who say, how can I give back? We have a young professionals board as part of our, our organization, and we have some grads on there. We had a graduate who was our treasurer on our board of directors for a while. We actually have a child who's the child of one of our graduates. So we have this, this ongoing sort of growing family. It's kind of wonderful.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have some favorite memories, some favorite experiences?
Yeah, I do. I have. Well,
Share one.
There's too many, but we run a program called Playmaking, which is a playwriting program, and we pair each student with a mentor, and there's a lead teacher, and we take kids through the process of writing a play, which often can be, we don't encourage them to write human characters, so they'll write about, two pencils in a drawer, for example. But the two pencils in a drawer will end up being this epic drama about a father and a son, and the father disapproves, whatever the thing that's going on in the life of the child. So I was a mentor. This was long before I became artistic director, but I was a mentor with a kid who had been in trouble at school. He had actually brought a gun to school, and was sort of his last sort of chance not to sort of end up on the track of ending up in juvenile detention. And he was doing this program. He was not a very literate child at the time, and so I was taking dictation for him as he was, sort of announcing what the characters would say next. And I said, okay, what does the dad say to the kid now? And he went and he gave me a line, and I said, oh, good idea, and I wrote it down. And I looked up from the page, and he was completely white. And I looked at him and I said, what happened? Are you okay? And he said, no one ever told me I had a good idea before. And so later on, I found out that not only did he graduate high school, go on to college, but he cited that playwriting experience as the thing that turned him around in his life. So we have so many stories like that where kids are really just impacted by, and that never would have happened if an adult hadn't been sitting right next to that child working, really intensely one-on-one like that. That's the kind of thing that happens.
Sometimes it's as simple as just giving permission.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I mean, so this is an offhand comment of mine.
Right.
Good idea, whatever. And
Right.
I look up and his life has changed
Right.
in that moment.
Right.
Can you imagine being a kid 17 years old who's never been told that they have a good idea? How tragic that is,
I can't imagine, and that is tragic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, so many kids get the opposite thing, like, oh, you scribbled on a page. Genius, let's put it on the refrigerator.
Yeah. Right?
So there's so many kids on the other end of the spectrum who really don't have any real encouragement at all. So
Sure. You have a lot of parents that probably, I would like to think, give you plenty of thanks as well.
there is one mom who I don't think I've ever heard anyone say thank you more times as this mom. I mean, it's every single time I see her. She only speaks Spanish, and it's gracias por todos y gracias por todo. It's just constant. We get letters from her. We get cards. They're very low-income family. She sticks money in the cards and hands it to us in the show. I mean, it's really, she just can't stop thanking us and grabbing my hand, and the teachers and the mentors and hugging, and it's just, yeah. And we really are grateful back to the parents because they have to, they have to be on board. They have to, bring their kids to rehearsals and the theater and so forth. And so it really takes a lot of commitment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's really.
Oh, you're welcome.
I think we take some of these things for granted, but really Santa Monica is very lucky to have this kind of thing that brings the community together like this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
being here. Yeah. So stick around, and we're going to be back with more Santa Monica on Stage.
Wow, that dancing. Can you imagine the way they contorted their bodies?
It's really beautiful.
It's unbelievable. I started dancing when I was about 3. How about you? Did you take dance classes when you were little?
Whenever I would dance, I would always be encouraged with the word stop. I would stop. Really? You started dancing when you were 3?
I started dancing when I was 3, and I remember something. I still dance. I danced all along, but I had a wonderful teacher, Roland Dupre, who used to say that the thing about dancing was it's the same as acting. That when you kick, you're not just going bam and kicking. Why are you kicking? Are you kicking to get out your anger? Are you kicking because you're aggressive towards someone? When you are doing a gentle move, are you wanting to appeal to somebody's better instincts? Are you wanting to make them feel better? So it's just like acting or singing.
Don't do it unless you mean it.
Don't do it unless you mean it. And I think what they were doing really, really shows that, the way every move meant something. It was just like
Yeah. You could see it in their
dialogue.
faces.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really awesome.
Amazing.
So did you dance when you were older?
I was still encouraged with the word stop.
Stop.
Yes. I am.
By your mentor?
I'm an incredible dancer as long as there's no witnesses.
Did you ever have a mentor or mentor someone?
Well, I was a big brother for many years. Yeah, and so I had my little. It was a really wonderful experience.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is giving back.
Yeah.
And I think getting as much as you give when you mentor.
Well, you do, because you don't really realize. Lori had mentioned that just something that she said in passing changed someone's life, and she was there at that moment. And I would realize that little things that I would do would make an impact. And I remember that this young man's mother would often tell me, he imitates you, which was kind of great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's our show for today. Every week we're continuing our journey, learning more about the arts groups that make Santa Monica's cultural world so rich.
We look forward to seeing you next time as we introduce you to a few more of our friends here on Santa Monica On Stage.